Hello, everybody. This is Zero to Hero, where everyday Canadians are getting ahead with real estate. This is the show where we dive into the success stories of several real world investors. We dive into the strategies that help take their business to the next level. You get to know the who, learn the how to get what you need to succeed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's another hot one coming to you, and I'm really excited because I got QG, aka Quinton Green, on deck today. I really am excited for this conversation because I really like connecting with people who I've seen over a year or more, where I've seen their journey just continue to grow and to elevate because of the amount of work that they've put not only into themselves, but as well into their craft. And it's no surprise to see where Quinton is today and where he is going. And so I brought him on so that you can get to know him a little bit, what he's doing, how you can build and add value to his relationship. So per se, if you ever want something to do in the future, hey, he's an option, and he's definitely someone who will be in the marketplace for years to come. For those who don't know Quinton, I got to tell you, he's a small town country boy just outside the Peterborough area. He is very much an outdoors man. I mean, if you're going to be in that area and you're not outdoors, you're either an introvert or you just don't know what outside looks like. And so we're talking skiing, snowboarding, you name it, he's probably claimed it. And then in addition to that, he's also been in the real estate business, entering his third year and I got to tell you, man, don't despise small beginnings, because the amount of growth that you can get when you're applying consistent action and being in an environment around people who are killers and are just so focused on getting ahead using real estate. Quinton is an example of that. And so, Quinton, I'm so glad that you're on. How are you doing today? It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great, and I'm definitely looking forward to today's chat.
Perfect, man. So let's get right into it. The reality is you actually had a very peculiar beginning as you transitioned into real estate. Can you kind of talk to people about what got you interested in real estate in the first place and what you were doing before that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think for me, like most people, I was working a corporate job that just wasn't, it wasn't fulfilling. And, I spent most of my days at work, would come home, I would have a few hours at night to maybe cook meals and then go to bed and wake up for work the next day. And I think like most people in North America, my first feeling when I woke up in the morning was, I can't believe I have to go to work today. And I was in my mid-20s managing a large manufacturing sector. I had around at one point 100 employees. And for me, I just wasn't happy. And so what I started doing is, I've always been a researcher. So I always just kind of started researching like ways how to make money, like businesses you can start. And I just kind of went down that rabbit hole. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up actually coming across real estate investing. And it was actually student rentals was the first thing I looked into for real estate investing. So I actually ended up meeting a guy named Marco down in Windsor. Some of you guys probably know him. That was the first rental property I ever walked in my life. And I think he was 24 at the time. And he was basically telling me how he was retired and didn't have to work. And here's this guy the same age as me, and he didn't have to work. He got to make his own destiny. And then there I was, with an awesome job on paper that everybody said was so impressive, but I felt miserable. And I was just like, man, there has to be a better way. So I started getting more and more interested in real estate and started networking with more and more people, which again, at the time I was in Windsor. So inevitably I joined Wind City Group, then Cashflow Tribe as well, I think at the same time. And then what I started realizing was you become the 5 people you hang around most. And I was hanging around a lot of people who weren't really doing what I wanted to do. So I kind of bought myself into that room. Like I said, I joined council. I kind of started hanging around with more people that were doing real estate. And then before I knew it, like I just became obsessed with it. I knew it's what I wanted to do. It made sense. I'm a creative guy, but I'm also a very like mathematical and logic guy. So it kind of seemed like the perfect blend of skills for me. And then one thing led to another. I joined council for a bit and then ended up actually joining Matt McKeever and Adam Martin's wholesale team for the last year. And then actually just this year decided to start my own company. So now I'm kind of focusing more on the acquisition side and taking projects down this year. We're just getting started, man.
Man, it's a beautiful story to kind of see what your progression has been, coming from seeing that, going through that walkthrough and seeing somebody retire your age and really putting things in perspective to see that there is more than what your current situation is. And the reason why I asked that question, and I was really happy you answered that way, because I'm sure people listening might say, okay, he had a job he doesn't like, it's not what everybody goes through. That's nothing peculiar. But the truth is, you actually, according to a lot of what people want, we're living the quote unquote Canadian dream. The reality is you got a great job, had a great salary. You managed an entire team. You said over 100 employees. Like, that is a major responsibility, right? But the thing is, what you said, it's on paper. On paper, it looks good. In paper, it looks like this is what everybody wants. But the truth of the matter is you wanted more. You wanted more. And I think it was just amazing that you seized the opportunity of coming across somebody who was doing something that now, fast forward to today, you are now doing, which is more fulfilling, which is more, it gets your creative juices flowing. It gets you up every day wanting to see what the challenge is ahead. And so I really wanted to highlight that because it isn't what everybody thinks it seems. Like, really, it's kind of like, I guess people could say it's like golden chains, because it's gold and it's shiny. People want it, but it's chains, meaning that you're restricted. You're not actually, you don't have the freedom, the true freedom to be able to explore and to do all the different things that you want. And so talk about that. Is that kind of how it felt for you now being in this position today?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm like, honestly, I felt like there was people who wanted my job very badly. And I was just somebody who was kind of holding that position because the company wanted me to. And, like there was a lot of people who would kill to have my job, and a lot of people who went to school for business and, Lean Six Sigma manufacturing training and all this stuff. And like, I was a 25-year-old kind of holding down that position, which, I loved leadership. I loved leading people, but kind of like what you said, it was the golden shackles, right? The more money you make, the more money I inevitably started to spend because I just was unhappy, and I was, started looking at stupid things like cars and what house can I buy? And like, you just kind of go down this rabbit hole of trying to keep up with the Joneses. And for me, it was more of like an identity crisis where I'm just like, this is not me. It's never been me. Like you said, I'm a small town boy. I'm not a corporate guy. Like, freedom is what I've always valued. And I was pretty much doing the opposite of freedom. I was working all day for somebody I didn't really want to work for. And, I didn't really see an end in sight. And I just saw people who were, in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And I'm like, that's going to be me in 40 years and 30 years. And I'm like, do I want to be that person? And it was an easy no. easy no.
I think that is what we need to do with ourselves at some point in our journey. We actually have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, is this what we want? Is this a decision that I'm making for me? Or is this I'm doing because it's what I've been told? I'm doing this to please others. I'm doing this so that the optics or the way it looks from everybody else's view, it looks like, oh, I'm the ideal career. The truth is, none of those things really matter if at the end of the day, you're going home and you're going to your bed and you're laying your head and you hate waking up the next day because you got to get up and do it again. And that's just a reality we all have to face and make that decision to make a change. So fast forward now, Quinton, I'm sure people might look at you and say, okay, well, good for you. You got the right people. You had the right system. So that's why you were set up for success. But oftentimes I look at people such as yourself, Q, and I say, for you to get to where you are, you've had to go through a lot of mistakes, probably a good number of failures that you've learned from in order to be where you're at. Can you talk to us about an example of a mistake or something that you really learned from that helped get you to where you are today?
Oh man, so many, like so many. Like, so before real estate even started, like I was someone who always tried a lot of different things, right? Like I failed at many things. I had landscape companies I failed at. I tried the computer programming boot camps, which I failed the test and couldn't even get accepted. Like I did a bunch of different things that I failed at. And I would ultimately say like I failed in the corporate career. Like it's just not something I wanted to do. So like I quit it. So I failed it ultimately. But in terms of real estate, like, so when I first started wholesaling, I had no sales experience ever, and people are like, oh, like you worked with Matt McKeever and Adam and, you got trained. And it's like, sure we did, but like just being on their team doesn't make you instantly qualified to do high ticket sales. And it's like, sure, I have people to lean on, which again, I paid a lot of money to be in that room and inevitably meet those people. But last year I did 14 deals on the team and I think I presented 185 offers. So, for every 10 offers I presented, I only ended up really getting one or half of one. So, I had a lot of failures last year. I had a lot of lessons learned. And I think for sales, like sales by itself is not a skill I had before. So a lot of that was learning, right? I didn't really feel comfortable in sales. So probably my 4th month in presenting contracts. And by that time I'd probably already presented 80 contracts and I still felt nervous going to offer presentations. I still, wasn't super comfortable, but I just knew I had to push through because I knew this was a skill I needed to have if I wanted to take it serious in real estate long-term. Like a lot of people say in the industry is like, there's no deals out there. I can't find deals. And I felt that same pain myself when I was trying to do flipping. So I knew I had to get good at finding deals and negotiating deals no matter what. It was the most important skill. And I knew if I had a deal, I could figure out the rest. So in terms of specific failures, like I just presented so many offers, man, where I embarrassed myself, or, just I didn't do my due diligence enough. I didn't have my facts all straightened out. And, I had other wholesalers beat me to the deals. I've had other wholesalers come in and take the deal from under me. And, a lot of lessons learned. There's too many to just name one, but again, I think you just learn through repetition. Like you put in the reps and one day you wake up and you're confident, and that's just the way it goes.
Man, that was perfectly said, because one thing that that really helped me clarify things for me, and this is why I asked the question, is because it's not about being perfect. See, people confuse being perfect with being consistent. See, the reality is, even though you weren't perfect, you were consistent through all of that. You continue to show up and make offers, even after rejection, even after failure, even after people doing sneaky stuff, even after things not going the way that you thought. You showed up and you kept doing the skill, and it continued to grow. You continue to get better. You continue to do well. And as a result, this is how you find where you are today. I constantly tell people all the time, it isn't a magic bullet. Quinton didn't go to a shop, get this red pill, and then bam, he's now where he is today. This is just not how it works. You have to be consistent, not perfect, but consistent. And I believe that's exactly what you're continually doing today, even as you continue to work on your team. And so fast forward now to today, talk to us about an example deal that you've recently done that maybe you can walk everybody through.
Yeah, sure. Actually, so most recent deal, I actually just yesterday locked up a deal in Peterborough. So that's actually going to be partnering up with Austin Ye on that. So expect to see that deal coming out this week. But essentially this was a very interesting deal because, this was a deal that took me probably 2 to 3 months to finally close. And the seller, he was in a tough spot. He rents some rooms upstairs in his house, and, he's just kind of had it, right? He's just sick of it. And, he's kind of conflicted on what he wanted to do. He has family from Petawawa, but all his friends are down south near Woodstock. And these are one of those times where, like, I could have been a salesman and like pushed him to sign the paperwork and, like, let's just do this. Let's just get this done and, do a deal to make the money. But, I took my time with him. I made sure that he was happy with everything. Ended up getting him a price that he was very happy with. And just kind of through all that, like, there's certain little things I helped him with. Like I offered to help him with moving, and obviously set him up with a lawyer because he didn't know any lawyers, and just kind of gave him that extra little bit of love, and, met with him 4 or 5 times before I actually even ever asked him to sign the paperwork. And because I was that way, he actually now like referred me to his neighbor that also wants to sell with me. So I think in this case, it's a good deal just that shows like, you don't need to be a pressury salesman to always get deals. And, sometimes just actually having people's, best intentions in mind and, their future in mind will sometimes get you referral business and more business. And that happened to me multiple times last year. And I kind of realized my strong suit was just being myself. Like I actually just genuinely care about people, and I have a hard time just, going in and undercutting people. So this was something for me where, I built a solid relationship with the seller, and like, we're going to be doing some fishing this summer. So, it's like you can sell deals and make friends at the same time. It doesn't need to be one or the other.
I actually love that, because people think it's got to be, some psychological whole, like, chessboard game with the seller. Dude, just be human. Just be human. The dude has a need. See how you can solve that need in exchange for his business. And I believe that's exactly what you were able to do. I remember a previous deal that you did one time, or I don't know if you actually were able to do this deal, but what you did with this seller was you were on the phone with them. And even though he was saying this in passing, because of your listening skills, you remembered talking about him saying, he needs some groceries, he needs to get some food. So what you did, you didn't even ask him. You just went and was able to help him get some food. Mind you, you haven't even talked about the real estate yet. You haven't even talked numbers, all that kind of stuff. You just saw a need and you went to fulfill that. And as little golden nuggets just like that separates you apart from other investors. And just the fact that you just shared in your latest deal of just continually just being patient, working with him, understanding his concerns, and just waiting for him to come around and making sure you're meeting his needs. This is exactly how real estate investors are successful and others are not. If you just rush to say, well, will you take this offer? Will you take this offer? I'm sure if you do that 1,000 times, you might get one, but that, like, you could probably do a lot more if you just come across more authentic. And so Quinton, how do you teach that to people who are, who are just getting started? Like, because, as I can imagine, some people are like, hey, I just want, I see those checks on social media and I want in on that. But, what would you say to those individuals to say, hey, man, like this is how you got to go? How would you coach them or encourage them?
Yeah, I think like when it comes to sales, like, again, I'm not like a sales expert or anything. Like, I don't have tons and tons of experience, but from what I've learned is like being your authentic self, I have performed the best. And when I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, I performed the worst. And I felt almost like anxious, like I felt unease when I would present offers. But like I said, I've kind of just through a lot of rejection and through a lot of offers, I've kind of learned what works for me. And what works for me won't work for everybody else. But like I said, there's a lot of different wholesalers and investors. Everybody doesn't present offers and talk to sellers the exact same way. But there's still a lot of people that get deals. So I think that the thing is like, you just need to not put so much pressure on the way you need to be and just literally genuinely be yourself. You are somebody who wants to buy a property. These people are somebody who potentially wants to sell a property, and that's it. Like there's no fancy thing that needs to happen. It's like, you're a buyer, they're a seller. It's a match made in heaven if they actually want to sell a property.
You now have been in this space for over 3 years now, or going into your third year now, and the reality is you've grown so much over these past years. I can imagine you probably wouldn't have known you would be right where you are the moment that you accepted that job in Windsor, where you had that big job, like in your mid-20s. I don't know if you would say, hey, I knew that I would be here in 3 years, but let's fast forward 5 years from today. Where do you hope to be with your business?
Yeah, that's something I always remind myself of. And like, again, the whole reason why I got into real estate was for freedom in the first place. But for me, like 5 years from now, I definitely want to still have a flipping business and, kind of doing my thing and start acquiring more rental properties. I think like most people, I want to transition more into wealth building long-term after I build up capital. But for me, man, life's all about freedom. We don't know how much time we have. A lot of people expect you're going to live to 85, but none of our time is guaranteed. And I think, to wait till you're 65 to enjoy your life is the craziest, is the craziest way to look at life. For me, it's like, 4 years from now, I want to be, living on a beach in Costa Rica half the year and working when I want to work, having my teams and systems set up in Canada so that I can work remotely. And it's very possible. There's many investors that are doing that right now. Jeremy Ivan, he's a great example of that. And there's a lot of guys who are slowly transitioning and kind of realizing that life is short and, what's the point of making money and financial freedom if you don't enjoy it? It's not all about just hustling and grinding. It's like, get to that point and then automate your systems, put things in place so you don't always have to be the guy doing everything. And then, you can enjoy your life on your own terms.
I really, really love that, because the truth is, like, we only have this time that we have. Tomorrow is not promised. Nothing is guaranteed. And so you want to make the most of what we have right now. I love how, there's other individuals such as like Sean Whalen who talk about like, there's nothing better than the exact moment that we're in right now. Like this very moment of me having this conversation with you, nothing is more important than the present. And how much more important is it that when we're taking our time and our money and we're investing to making more moments just as this, where when we are basking in the present moment, it's things that we want to do, things that we enjoy, things that we make the choice to do, not because we have to do it. And so I think you're thinking along the right lines, and only want to see more of that come in the years to come for you. And so before I let you go, how can somebody who's listening to this really get started? What are 3 things that you would encourage them to do? Let's say they're a beginner, they're inspired hearing Quinton talking about the things he's doing now and what he looks to do in years to come. What are 3 things you would say to them that they should get started doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is just networking and like meeting more people that are doing what you want to do. And I think that's a key. I think people in their first beginning are like, oh, what value do I have to provide? I haven't done a deal. Why would someone in real estate who's done deals want to talk to me? It's people love to talk real estate with people who will listen. Like that's what I found. We all love talking real estate. And honestly, there's a lot of people that I've met who've just started, and seeing their growth in 3 or 4 months, like we're probably going to be partnering up on deals now, and it's like you build those relationships. Like relationships are a lot more important and much more long lasting than the single transaction. And like, even like you, Daniel, like we met a year and a half ago at a meetup, and it's like, we still talk from time to time. And, like we're doing deals in the same town. We went somehow meeting in Windsor, and now we're both doing deals in Peterborough. So it's just like, you never know how things can end up. another really important thing, and I would honestly say, is just taking action. And I think this is probably something that has benefited me the most. I've always been an action taker. I'm definitely not somebody, I want to say I'm kind of impulsive, to be straight up honest. Like, if there's something I want or I'm excited, like I just do it. I don't really think about all the negative repercussions, like you just have to go for it. And, for example, like not even real estate included, like from the time I left university, I dropped out of university, did a landscaping job, went into the cannabis industry for a couple of years. I think I changed jobs 5 times. Anytime an opportunity came up, I took it. I went to Windsor randomly because I got an opportunity, moved 5 hours away, did a couple different jobs there, jumped into real estate, moved to Pickering, moved to Peterborough. And this was all in the last like 5 years. So for me, it's just, if an opportunity comes up and it makes sense, like I pursue it at all costs. And I think this is something where a lot of people get stuck, like Matt McKeever always says, in the analysis paralysis stage. Like, just the more time you spend thinking about stuff, like it's just, you could have already done multiple deals by now. You could have already made a couple of good connections. So I think that'd be my big number 2. And like, I think number 3 is just like, never stop learning, right? Like never get to a point where like you think that you just know everything and it's all figured out, because there's always another level and there's always people who would love to get involved with you and know what you're doing. And like I said, for me, like awesome, I did 14 deals last year, and a lot of that was wholesaling. But like for me, like I feel like I'm just getting started. I still feel like I'm in the amateur stages. I see a bunch of guys like Sean Allen and stuff, and I'm like, that's where I want to be eventually. Like Ben Murison, like Matt McKeever. I want to be on that level of knowledge and skill and network level where like if I need money, I can just pick up the phone, I can connect those dots, and I'm doing deals. And I'm still in the very, very early stages of that, but I'm happy to have been started before I was 30. And again, just taking action, man, and being consistent is super important.
Man, I need everybody listening to this to rewind this and listen it back again, because the amount of golden nuggets that Q just dropped, I'm telling you right now, it's nothing magical. It really just comes down to applying the things that he just mentioned, taking action, getting around other individuals, building relationships. You never know how far these things will take you if you're just consistent with it. Not perfect with it, consistent with it. That's the biggest difference. And so, Q, before I let you go, what's a way people can connect with you? Maybe if they want to join the team or just keep up to date with your journey, what you have going on, how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm on Instagram. Quinton Green Investor is my handle. Also on Facebook, you can find me, Quinton Green. But I actually have just recently started a company called Green Garden Properties. So you'll start seeing some of that come out here soon. So again, we're going to be primarily acquisition and flipping company. But find me on Instagram, shoot me a message. We're always looking for, bird dogs, wholesalers, anybody who wants to get out there and learn. I'm happy to help teach if you're somebody who's committed to the process. Message me anytime. Happy to always talk to people.
Man, really appreciate you coming on, Q. I will definitely put all that information down below. And for those who are listening, go back and check this man out. He's definitely doing some awesome things. He literally is collaborating. He's learning, he's growing, taking action, and pulling others up who want to put in the work, put in the time, and are dedicated to the craft. And so if you are that individual, absolutely follow Quinton. Even if you're not and you need some inspiration, you need some direction, definitely follow him, because there's many other individuals who talk about the work but don't do the work. But I can tell you right now that my man Quinton is one of those individuals. So Quinton, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
This has been Zero to Hero. I hope you took something out of it. Be sure to take action so that you can get results just like our guest that you've listened to today. Stay tuned for the next episodes, and we'll see you on the next one.